What's up, Boxer family? We back. Hope you guys enjoyed the holidays. It's the year 2022. What should we expect from boxing in the year 2022? I know what I hope, but what will we get? They play games in this sport. They prolong the fights that we want to see. Now, hopefully this year, that will not be the case, because I'm looking forward to some good fights. I made a list. Now, not in this particular order is that I want to see these fights, but here's a few fights that I do want to see, if possible, in the year 2022. Lopez and the Cambosis rematch. We gotta have that. We need those two to settle the score for the Devin Haney and Lopez fight. That would be something that needs to happen in order for Lopez, in my opinion, to be able to generate enough interest to watch that fight. Then we got Haney versus Cambosis. Hopefully that happens this year. It's been a lot of back and forth with them too. I don't know what the heck is going on, but hopefully we get that fight. If we can get that fight, that's one off the list that I could scratch off. Then we got Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia. Now that's a super fight I'd like to see. My money's on Tank. I think Ryan is a amazing fighter, but as you saw, he has been dropped. So Davis is definitely going to tap that chin, and when he does, I think it's going to be night for Ryan. Then we got Thurman versus Crawford or Spence. I think that will be a good fight later on this year, should Thurman pass a few test fights, a few warm-ups before getting to those guys. But I think that'll be an interesting fight, Thurman versus Crawford or Spence. I mean, Thurman's only loss is to Pacquiao. Let's not forget that. His only loss is to Pacquiao. I'm a little concerned with Thurman's ability to take body shots. I think that's going to be a problem, especially fighting a body puncher like Errol Spence. But moving on, even Thurman versus Kell Brook or Amir Khan would be a good comeback fight for him this year. Something to test the water, see where he's at. And if he can beat those guys, then obviously that would say, okay, maybe you got a chance, against the elite fighters of today. Not saying Thurman isn't an elite fighter, but it's been a while since he's been in the ring. And another one I like to see is Jamal Charlo versus Canelo Alvarez. Now, if we can get that fight this year, that'd be a nice way to get the fans back into believing in the sport of boxing. Get us back into believing that you guys want to give us the best fights all the time, like the UFC. Next, if we can get Charlo versus Boo Boo Andre, that would be a good fight too. I'd pay for that. I'm definitely watching that fight. Now, do I think those two need to fight each other before they get a shot at Canelo? No, I don't. I think those two have put in enough work and have earned a shot to fight Canelo. I don't know what Canelo's on. I get it. He's making business moves, not necessarily, what's the word I'm looking for? So yeah, Canelo's making business moves, I get it. But if you want to be considered the greatest fighter ever, you got to fight the best. You got to fight the best, period. Then if we can get Boo Boo versus Canelo this year, that'll be a good one. I'll watch that. Andre, I believe, definitely has enough skill to face off with Canelo and enough power as well. Now, can Boo Boo withstand Canelo's power? That's another question. I don't know. We've yet to see Andre in there with the fighter on Canelo's level, to say. Next, Lopez versus Haney. Now, for that fight, I gotta say, I always had some reserved thoughts on that match. but my money is on Devin Haney. Lopez is a great fighter, but my money is on Devin Haney. I think he's going to be able to use his reach. I think he's going to be able to just outskill and outpoint Devin Haney. Lopez. I think he's going to outpoint Lopez. I don't think he's going to knock Lopez out by any means, but I do think he would win on the scorecard. And in a fight like that, there's really not a loser. That's why those two should just fight. They should have just fought. No one's getting knocked out in that fight. I do not see a knockout in that fight. It would be a 7-5 fight. That's my opinion. A 7-5 fight. And if it's a 8-4 fight even for Devin Haney, that's still not bad for Lopez. You just got outpointed, man, by a bigger guy, basically. You know, he's got longer arms and he's taller than you. Now, should you win that fight, that says a lot about you. So, in my opinion, those two should have been fought. But I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. To me, someone is bluffing. Someone's bluffing. And I don't think it's Devin Haney. That's just my opinion. Then we got Lopez versus Tank Davis. Now, in that fight, I do have a knockout. I do predict a knockout, and I predict Tank Davis knocking out Lopez if those two ever got into a fight this year. If those two were to fight this year, my money's on Tank. That's just how I feel. That's just my opinion. He's gonna touch that chin. Oh yeah, he tapping that chin. So if we can get that fight this year, which is more than likely not gonna happen, maybe in 2023, 2024, I don't know. Whenever the fans stop supporting these weaker fights and make these guys fight each other, the fights that we want to see, me, myself, particularly, I do not buy BS fights. If you're not fighting someone on the same level as you or with a better than a puncher's chance to beat you, I'm not fighting you if I'm a fan of you. Sorry. I get the business moves. You're trying to, get along, have a long career, you're chasing numbers, whatever the case may be. So I get it, but I'm just not buying those fights. That's just my opinion. Don't put those fights on pay-per-view. If you're not fighting a fight that's worth it, free TV, man. Give us a free fight then. That's what's up. That's how you earn fans anyway. Give us a free fight for those bogus fights. But for those fights on a bigger magnitude, take it to pay-per-view. That's just how I feel. These Paul boys is killing the game, okay? They're killing the game. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm saying that they're making some smart moves. And it's time for you guys to catch up. Next on my list, I got Ryan Garcia versus Teofimo Lopez. That's another good fight. If we can get those two in the ring, I got a knockout in that fight. And I got Lopez knocking out Ryan Garcia. Should those two get in the ring this year or next year? Lopez, I got you knocking out Ryan Garcia, man. I think it'd be a good fight. I think they would go 7-8 rounds, maybe to 9, maybe 9 or 10, but someone's getting knocked out, and I believe it's Garcia. That's just my opinion. But no slight to Garcia at all. I just think Lopez is too strong for him. That's all. And then we got next on the list, Shakira Stevenson. That's another fighter I'm a huge fan of. Definitely like the way he boxes in the ring. Super, super smart fighter. Super smart. Super computer in the ring. If there's anyone who ever studied the game tapes of Mayweather and imitating it as far as pure boxing ability, it's Shakira Stevenson. That boy bad. He cold-blooded. I don't see nobody messing with him right now. I just don't, which is why a lot of fighters ducking that man. So, Shakira Stevenson versus Ryan Garcia. I got Shakira Stevenson blowing out Ryan Garcia. Blowing him out. I don't think Ryan Garcia can do anything with Shakira Stevenson. He's liable to get knocked out early. If not, he'll be outpointed for sure. He might get shut out. He might get shut out by Shakira Stevenson. Then we got Shakira Stevenson versus Lomachenko. If Lomachenko stop backpedaling and running from that man, why are you running from You really are a grown man. And Shakira Stevenson, he's a grown man too, but he's younger than you. You should have that experience to be able to take him on. Why are you chasing Tank Davis, talking about Mayweather is scared to let Tank fight you? Why don't you fight Shakira Stevenson? What's going on with that? Crickets. You know what's happening if you get in the ring with that man. Taking your head off. That ain't gonna work. That's not Lopez. You get in the ring with Shakira Stevenson, he flooding you. Hands down, my money's on Shakira Stevenson. That is the next in the sport of boxing. Now in the next. Then we got in a mega fight, Stevenson versus Haney. That's a super mega fight. Shakira Stevenson versus Devin Haney is a mega fight. If we get that fight this year, that would be an unexpected gift from the sport of boxing. If we don't, I'm seeing possibly 2023, 2024, but we definitely need that one. I don't care. We need that fight. We need that fight. I know these two got some more work to do in their careers, but I definitely want to see that fight. Then we got Shakira Stevenson versus Tank Davis. If we get that fight, that's another mega fight. That's another super fight. And that one, someone could possibly get knocked out. Someone could possibly get knocked out in that fight. But again, Stevenson, his skill too good. His skill's too good. So I got Shakira Stevenson outpointing Davis in a 12-round fight. If Davis was to win that fight, he would have to drop Shakira Stevenson, and I believe he's got the power to do it. So if he could drop Davis, not necessarily even knock him out. If he could drop Davis, he could win by points, or he could win by knockout. That's my prediction if those two were to fight. Now, number one fight in the sport of boxing for me. You already know. Drum roll. Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. What are we doing? What are we doing? What do we need to do to make this fight happen? What will it take? What will it take? I can't imagine Michael Jordan running from Karl Malone, running from Gary Payton, running from Shaquille O'Neal, running from Kobe Bryant. That's not what killers do. That's not what killers do. You make sure people know you the big dog on the campus. That's how killers move. You make sure people know you the big dog on campus. Muhammad Ali never ran from nobody. Fought George Foreman, fought Joe Frazier 3 times. 3 times. And each fight was a fight for his life. What are we doing here today? What are we doing? We need to get that fight this year. Make me a true believer in the sport again. We need that fight. Otherwise, like I said, I'm not buying fights, BS fights, period. Put them on TV for free if you guys want to fight these BS fights. Otherwise, you won't get my hard-earned working dollars. No. But that's my idea of a of a good 22. That's my idea of a great 22. A great year of boxing. If we can get half of those fights, even a third of these fights, that'd be awesome. I'm very interested in the fighters we have today. We just need them to make smarter business moves by fighting the fights that fans want to see. Now, there's a lot of racism going on in boxing too. Let's not forget that. You got certain groups of fans who support their fighters tremendously, and that's awesome. But I see that the fighters don't want to share the dollars from their fans. They want to keep all the dollars from their fans because they're keeping that money in their race, right? They're keeping the money within their race. They're not sharing dollars with black fighters. If you really watch what's happening here, that's why a lot of fights are being stalled out. They don't want to share their dollars with black fighters. That's what it's looking like to me. That's what racism is doing to the sport of boxing right now. They're keeping the money with their races, period. Until I see otherwise, I will think this. This is what I've been noticing for years. European fighters fighting European fighters, keeping European money with European people, period. That's what I'm seeing in the sport of boxing. They do not want to share their money with black fighters. They do not want to share that. So what do we do about that, guys? What do we do? I know what I'm going to do. And we can get together and have a discussion about this, because that needs to change. We need the best fighting the best. We're not afraid to share our dollars because we want to be the best. Shout out to a lot of the Mexican fighters who are not afraid to get in the ring with anybody. Because when I was watching the sport of boxing as a kid growing up, I didn't see too many scary Mexican fighters. Never saw that. Canelo Alvarez wouldn't have lasted when I was watching boxing growing up in the era that I saw. Oscar De La Hoya, Bernard Hopkins. You gotta fight people, man. You gotta fight people. The only fight I'm gonna give you credit for is, well, the only interesting fight for me that Canelo has fought, and I'm not even gonna put Mayweather in there, but was Triple G. But again, not sharing those dollars. Anyways, hopefully this year, in the year 2022, they give us the fights we want to see and not those BS fights. If you're going to give us those BS fights, throw them on TV for free. Throw them on TV for free. We don't need them. We don't need them on pay-per-view. You can have those fights. That's my time. That's all I got for right now, guys. I'll be back dropping some more content. Hopefully, like I said, everyone enjoyed the holidays. Happy New Year's to you guys. I'm out. Peace. And as far as the heavyweights go, there's really not too many heavyweights that I really want to see right now that I find entertaining. Deontay Wilder, to me, was one of the last entertaining heavyweights that I've seen. Sorry, Tyson Fury, you're not entertaining enough, man. I know you can fight, I know you can box, I get all that, but you're just not a draw for me. Maybe for the European race, you know, maybe for your fans at home, but there's not a fight out there that I'm interested in seeing you fight. There's no one I want to see you fight. No one. Maybe Ortiz, if you was to get in the ring with King Kong Ortiz, maybe. But other than that, no. Now, there's a few upcoming heavyweight fighters that I'm interested in, but no one that I want to see in a big fight right now. That's my take on the heavyweights right now. If Wilder comes back this year, I don't know if there's if Wilder comes back this year and he fights Ruiz, I'd be kind of interested in that fight. That'd be a good fight if Wilder comes back and he fights Ruiz, but I don't know how interested I'm in that because of what would be next for Wilder, and after the trilogy he's been in with Fury, I just don't think Wilder is the same fighter anymore. If you notice, anytime he gets hit in the head, he's out on his feet. That trilogy did something to Wilder. That was a weird trilogy. Some weird things went on in that trilogy, and I don't want to get all into it, but I just don't think Wilder is the same fighter anymore. He's had an amazing career, bomb squad all day, but I just think that trilogy definitely had an effect on Wilder's body. But salute to the king. And Anthony Joshua, there's no fight I want to see. Even if he fights Fury, that's a good fight, but it's not a fight that I'm over the moon about. It was Joshua and Wilder that should have been fighting. If that would have happened, Fury maybe never even gets up off the couch and gets a shot at Wilder if AJ didn't run from Wilder or whatever went on behind the scenes. I don't know if he necessarily ran, but it definitely looked like it. Okay, but who knows? So yeah, technically, so there's not really a fight I want to see AJ that I would pay to see him fight. That's what I mean. Like, a lot of fights will be interesting for free TV, but nothing pay-per-view worthy for the heavyweights right now, in my opinion. Now, out of all those fights I listed, if we do get some of those fights, are we going to get upsets? You never know in the sport of boxing. This is why I want people to take a look at what's happening in the sport. We're not able to get the fights we want to see because of upsets before the fights that we want to see are put into fruition. Like, what's going on? Why take a loss to someone else for less money when you can make more money and possibly take a loss with the person that you are afraid to take an L to? You might win. The underdogs are beating you guys. Lopez, Cambosis beat you. Now, no slight to Lopez. He put up a hell of a fight, but I'm just saying, same to Anthony Joshua. Ruiz beat you. You came back and you avenged it, but not the way that he beat you. He knocked you out. So that's totally different. We don't need any more upsets in the sport of boxing before we get the mega fights that we want. You guys are dropping the ball. You're ruining the money. And I'm talking about the promoters. You're ruining the money. You're ruining the sport because you're looking out for your pockets. You're trying to line your pockets instead of making the fans happy. Thus, people are transferring over to the UFC. That's what's happening because the UFC is giving everyone the fights they want to see. You guys are playing games. You're just trying to milk the cow. Give us the fights we want to see. Make us happy. Don't you want to see us with a smile? Anyways, I don't know what's happening in the sport right now. I don't know. So it's racism. People are scared to take L's. But shout out to all the fighters getting in there, risking their lives to entertain fans, because they're putting their lives on the line at the end of the day. So we can only give our opinions, but we still have to respect the fighters for putting on a show for us, and risking their lives in that square circle. So shout out to all the fighters in the boxing world, keeping us entertained. So shout out to all the fighters still fighting today, keeping us entertained, and shout out to the fighters, all the retired fighters who kept the sport alive to get to this point. And that's all I got for y'all right now. I'll be back with some more content pretty soon here. Don't forget to subscribe if you're a fan of boxing. Stay tuned. I'm out.